أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المذمومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في محكم كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تتمنوا ما فضل الله به بعضكم على بعض صدق الله العلي العظيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, this is ayah number 32, he says, and do not crave the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to some over others. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Praise be to that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is known as Al-Fatah, the opener. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens and can control every single door in this universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who has opened the door of hidayah, the door of guidance for us. He has guided the bees on how to make hexagonal combs. He has guided young birds on how to pick seeds, and he has guided us, the followers of the Ahlulbait AS, to Sirat al-Mustaqim. Praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the opener, and he has opened our hearts to the love of the Ahlulbait AS. I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is known as An-Nur, the prime light. There has to be a narration where they say that there are two lights that exist. Two lights. There is one light that is related to this dunya, and there is a second light that is related to the akhirah. And alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful enough that he blessed us with both lights. The one that is related to the dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enlightened this dunya, this world, with the light of the sun and the stars. And the one that is meant for the akhirah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has enlightened us, and he has made into existence Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam and the 13 other infallible stars. And the second light that he provided for the akhirah, along with the Ahlulbait alayhi salam, is the Holy Quran. And the lights, the divine light of the Holy Quran, is the one that will lead us to Jannah. It is because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance, it is because of his mercy and benevolence that we have the opportunity to commemorate and mourn for Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and the tragedies of Karbala that befell upon him and his family. In my last session, I talked about Tawalli and Tabarri, and I talked about how in order for us to be unified, in order for us to love Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we need to establish Tawalli and Tabarri. It is the very love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam that will unite us all. We might have many differences, we might have different opinions, but the one love, the one thing that will make us the strongest ummah and the strongest community worldwide is the love for Abu Abdullah, because his love is special. His love removes all the other negative traits and effects that we have. When we cry in Muharram and Safar, and when we mourn for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, we go through a spiritual transformation. And in addition to the love for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in addition to tawalli and tabarri, it is important for us to also look at the flaws that we have in society and fix them. One of the greatest causes of disunity is hasad. It is jealousy. It is the comparison between people and their blessings that have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people outside of Muslim communities, especially the greater and the bigger and more developed countries, they look at these small differences and they look at these small disunities and they make a big profit out of them. They attack us and they cause jealousy. They cause jealousy between us. They cause us to compare ourselves. They cause us to break up and not be unified. That is the reason why the Imam Ajallahu Ta'ala Farajul Sharif has not been reappeared yet, because we are not unified enough. Jealousy is that type of disease, that type of spiritual illness that once you have it, it is very, very difficult to get rid of. It is that type of spiritual illness that when you have jealousy, when you compare yourself with one another, you make your whole life dedicated to just being better than a person. You dedicate all of your decisions, all of your thoughts, and all of your actions on how to bring that person that you are jealous of down. And by the time you realize that it is not worth to be jealous about, it is too late. You have wasted your time for repentance. It is too late to ask for forgiveness. Jealousy is that type of calamity that is a disgrace for faith. It is a disgrace for religion. It breaks our belief and certainty. What does it mean to be jealous? Jealousy is different from envy. Envy is when you compare yourself to someone else. They might have a materialistic or a non-materialistic blessing. Let's perhaps say they had a nice big house. If that individual that you are envious of, when you are envious, you say that, oh, I wish I had a house like that person. You compare your standards to the standards of that person. But when you are jealous, when you are a person who performs hasad, who is the one who commits hasad, you say that, oh, I wish I had that house, and I wish that that person does not have that house. On top of that, I wish that individual loses that blessing. That is the difference between hasad and envy. When you are jealous of someone, you are jealous of a materialistic or non-materialistic. For example, that person, they are very knowledgeable. They possess great knowledge. When you are jealous, you pray for their downfall. You are happy that when they struggle and they go through difficulty, when they lose those blessings, you are overjoyed. If they are knowledgeable, you pray that, Ya Allah, make this person less knowledgeable than me. Ya Allah, remove that knowledge that he possesses. If that person has money, Ya Allah, make that person poor. Make me richer than him. That is hasad. And we can see that it is an evolving disease in our community. And one of the reasons that it is an evolving disease is because when we are brought up, when we are being raised, jealousy comes from the comparison from others. Often, one of the common mistakes that parents do in the upbringing of their children is they compare a child with one another. Oh, did you see XYZ recites last night? He recited so beautifully. Why can you not recite like that? Did you see XYZ? She graduated from such and such university, and here you are wasting your time. You're not in such a great university like her. Because we often compare our children with one another, they have negative thoughts about their fellow mu'min. They have negative opinions about them. Whenever they are in front of them, they show some jealousy, some hatred towards them. They think to themselves, who does she think that she is? She's not that great. Her university is not that great. Or that boy, he didn't even recite that well. I can recite better. And they begin to develop even more spiritual diseases. They begin to be greedy for more. They begin to want more. They begin to have a problem of fault finding. They begin to be selfish and make all of the center of attention on them. And this is from what? This is because we compare one another in our community. This is because we compare and we do not count our blessings from Allah. We do not count how many ni'mas that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. But Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Jealousy is that spiritual disease that when you are possessing this disease, you lose track of what you have and what you don't have. You always think about what you don't have. Oh Allah, you didn't give me wealth. Oh Allah, you didn't give me this number of kids. Oh Allah, you gave me incompetent family members. You continuously think about the lack of something and not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already given you. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the ayah that I recited, Surah An-Nisa, verse 32, that do not crave, do not yearn for the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to others, but not you. Perhaps when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them that blessing, perhaps He's testing them. Perhaps that person is undergoing through great difficulty that we do not know of. Perhaps the grass is not greener on the other side. Perhaps we are better off than that person. But we need to first count how many ni'mas that we have already been given to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The way to ensure you do not have jealousy is that whenever you find yourself in a state of comfort, you find yourself that you have, alhamdulillah, many blessings from Allah, you show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You thank Him. You show that, Ya Allah, I am recognizing how many bounties that you have blessed me with. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, when He sees that you are thankful, you are grateful, He will bless you with even more. Our Imam alayhi salam, he has narrated, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu was salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He has narrated that jealousy burns faith like the way that fire consumes dry wood. Now, if we use this analogy and apply it to jealousy, if we look at the way that fire spreads, as soon as you have a piece of wood and fire catches on that piece of wood, the fire begins to spread rapidly. Very quickly, in a matter of seconds, the whole forest could be on fire. The same way the Imam says that as soon as you have that slightest moment of jealousy, you lose all your faith. You lose all of the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. You lose all your tawakkul and the love that you have for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your relationship with faith and Allah weakens. Our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He was once with his companions and he recited a Quranic ayah that told them to not be jealous of one another and have taqwa. It told them to have piety and not compare one another with each other and be jealous. The Imam alayhi salam, in order for them to understand how important it was to not be jealous, he narrates them a story of Prophet Isa alayhi salam. And I would like to narrate that story to you as well. The Imam alayhi salam, he narrates that Prophet Isa alayhi salam was a great traveler. Great traveler. And as a prophet, he had the mission that has been commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to travel to many different lands and preach the message of God to everyone as much as possible. So Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he did not have a stationary home. He did not have a solidified one and all permanent home. He would constantly be sleeping on the floor or sleeping in a tree or have some sort of temporary residence. One time, the Holy Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he is traveling and one of his followers, he starts following Prophet Isa alayhi salam and asks that, "Oh Nabi, oh Isa, may I travel with you? Can I follow you?" And the Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he agrees to the man following him. The Prophet, he gradually travels until he reaches a large pool, a large lake. It's very deep and there is a lot of water in the lake. Prophet Isa alayhi salam, he has tawakkul in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and with the faith that he has in Allah, he says Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and he miraculously begins to walk on water. It's a miracle. Prophet Isa alayhi salam is halfway there, and the companion behind him, he notices this. He witnesses this miracle with his own eyes. And he too, he said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, with full yaqeen. And he begins to walk on water. So the man, he gradually walks on water with Nabi Isa. Nabi Isa alayhi salam is walking forward and forward. And the man, as he's walking on water, he realizes that he is no different than Isa. He begins to compare himself with Nabi Isa alayhi salam. And he begins to have thoughts to himself that my status is not lower than Isa. In fact, I am equivalent to Isa. He was able to walk on water by saying Bismillah. I said Bismillah, and I was also able to walk on water. What's the difference between a prophet like him and me. And as soon as the follower became jealous and he compared himself to Nabi Isa alayhi salam, the miracle faded. He began to drown. He fell into the water and began screaming for help. Nabi Isa alayhi salam turns and looks around, realizes that his follower is not following him anymore, and he is all alone. So he looks around and he eventually finds that this man is drowning. He asks his follower that, what did you do? What happened? And the follower is just trying to gasp for breath and he's still drowning. Nabi Isa alayhi salam asks with a stern voice that, what did you do? What caused you to drown? And he said that, oh Nabi Isa alayhi salam, please forgive me. I compared my status to you and I became jealous that you were a prophet. And I said to myself that I was equivalent to you because I had the same miracle as you. And the moment I thought like that and I muttered it under my breath, I started drowning. Nabi Isa alayhi salam, he hears this and he says, take back what you said. And he says, do not put yourself in a position that is higher than the position that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put you in. He says that do not give yourself more respect and honor than Allah wants you to have. He says, go back to the position that you are originally in. Think about the respect and honor that you had before this miracle took place. Do not be jealous of my position. The follower does so. And he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, once again, and he is able to walk on water. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After narrating this story to his companion, he is trying to prove to the companions that do not compare to the ma'aseen. Do not compare with others. You might be in a better position than the individual you are jealous of, but you do not know. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. He is the one who is al-alim. You might not know what difficulties that he is going through, but you are jealous of him. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously says in the Quran to stay away from the jealous people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we look at Surah Al-Falaq, verse 5, he says, وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدٍ. That stay away from those who envy, stay away from those who are the most jealous of the jealous people, because they will affect you. Jealousy is a disease that spreads rapidly. As soon as you feel jealous, you begin to complain about people. You begin to backbite about them. You begin to say bad things about them. You say, oh, so-and-so, he's not really a good person. He is just showing off. So-and-so is not actually obedient towards Allah. I saw him missing salah a few times. We will do anything in our capacity. We will bulldoze our lives just to bring that person down. And that is why there is a narration, I believe it is from Imam Ali alayhi salam, if I'm not mistaken. He says, Al-Hasud la Yasud, that the jealous one cannot be a leader. Because the one who is jealous, he will bring everyone down with him. He will spread corruption. And that is why Imam Hussein alayhi salam did not give bay'ah to Yazid. When it was asked to the army of Yazid that why are you fighting Hussein? Imam Hussein did not do anything to you. He did not wage war against you. He did not say anything against you, so why are you fighting the grandson of Rasulullah? He said, it is because we are jealous of his proximity to Rasulullah. We have enmity, we have animosity from this jealousy. We are upset and we want to take revenge for our ancestors. Behind the scenes, the true reason why the tragedy of Karbala took place was because Yazid and his ancestors were unsatisfied. They were upset that Rasulullah and his family got such a high status. They wanted that status. They wanted that position, and they forcefully took it from Imam. That is why the Imam alayhi salam could not give bay'ah to such a person, because he was jealous. The Imam says, Al-hasudu la yasud, that the jealous person cannot be a ruler. The jealous person cannot govern people. But Ali wa awlad Ali salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So when we find ourselves in moments of jealousy, how should we react? The first thing that we should do is to avoid becoming more jealous. We should avoid that jealousy from increasing and growing. The way that we put a bowl over a fire until there is no air and the fire gets out, the same way we should put a bowl over the fire of jealousy. We should extinguish, we should eliminate that root of jealousy. And whenever we are jealous, the person that we are jealous of, it is very difficult, I tell you. It's very difficult. But when we are jealous of that person, we should pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah, oh Allah, make that person who is successful, make that person who has this ni'mah of you even more successful. Give him even more blessing. Remove the hatred that you have for that person in your heart. It is very difficult to say such words from a person who is jealous. But when you do that, you acknowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given certain individuals certain talents, and He has given other individuals other talents. You are showing your gratitude, and you are building a healthy and positive relationship instead of a relationship out of animosity. When you tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Ya Allah, please give me the blessing that this person has and increase his blessing even more, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will see that kindness, and inshallah over time, if not in this dunya but in the akhirah, He will accept your dua. He will see the kind-heartedness of yours. He will see how you struggled, you tried to restrain that jealousy. That is how we must treat jealousy. Treat it as if it is a disease. You should remove it. Remove it from your heart and pray for those you are jealous of. And the second thing that we should do to remove jealousy from our hearts is to see how many blessings do we have. And we can do this through everyday actions. Take a moment after every salah, do sajda shukr, and count how many blessings did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you that He did not give perhaps someone else. How many blessings? How many bounties? We should not judge everything by the cover. You know, there is a saying, don't judge a book by its cover. And the reason people say that is because you might not know what they are going through. You must be in a better situation than them. They might be struggling, but you're asking for their situation. You are asking for their bounties. Be thankful for what you have. Be content. Show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see gratefulness in Imam Ali alayhi salam's life. You see gratefulness and gratitude in Imam Hussein alayhi salam, even after he sacrificed everything. They lived very simply, not too comfortable. Very, very simple. Very basic clothing, stale bread, very simple and the most staple food. Yet they were still thankful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is how we overcome jealousy. Inshallah, when we overcome this disease that has affected our community, and when we learn to stop comparing others, we will inshallah build a more unified and solidified community for the 12th Imam, Ajallahu Ta'ala Farjuh Sharif. Inshallah, for the last session, that will be my last episode, I will, as I mentioned before, combine all of the life lessons that we learned about Imam Hussein alayhi salam and from the tragedy of Karbala, and I will discuss on how we use them in Khaybat al-Kubra, and how we look at the tragedy of Karbala beyond Muharram and Safar, and even after the 8th of Rabi al-Awwal, we still instill the values of Imam Hussein and the life lessons that we learned after the tragedy of Karbala, even after the months of mourning have passed. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to have gratitude and not compare ourselves to others. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the divine success that we do not have this jealousy in our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, make us a strong and unified community for the sake of Imam Mahdi Ajallahu Ta'ala Farjuh Sharif. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward us for the dhikr of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the du'as of those who want to visit the shrines of the 14 Ma'sumin, of those who want to perform Hajj or Umrah, or go to any other shrine or mosque around the world, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive our major and minor sins, forgive the major and minor sins of our parents and our family. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us amongst the Ansar of the 12th Imam Ajallahu Ta'ala Farjuh Sharif. May he ensure his safety and hasten his appearance, inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.